Brothers and sisters, I want us to look at a hadith with a brief examination. And I've titled this khutbah today, Always Count Your Blessings. Always count your blessings. And Abi Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: إذا نظر أحدكم إلى من فضل عليه في المال وخلقه فلينظر إلى من هو أسفل منه. أخرجه الشيخان. The Prophet ﷺ, as recorded on Abu Hurairah, may Allah Ta'ala be pleased with him, he said, if any one of you were to look at a person who's superior to him in wealth or in appearance, then he must look to those who are inferior to him in wealth and in deeds. Collected by Bukhari and Muslim. The benefits for this subject, my brothers, is that this hadith is a balanced scale for worldly matters, which directs a person to look at those who are at a lower grade than he is in life, since attaining this world isn't our ultimate goal. And living in a society like this is something I found that it can be very beneficial for us to look at today, because we see a lot of opulence, we see a lot of wealth, we see Rolls Royces, Lamborghinis, Bugattis, all of these expensive palaces and things. And many of us don't have that. And sometimes that can make us feel a certain way, especially if the person who has these possessions isn't a person of religiosity. But when we look to those people who have less than what you and I have, then we could be grateful for what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. Because attaining this world isn't our ultimate goal. This is just a journey for us. When you reflect over those who are inferior to yourself, meaning those who are at a lesser status than you, whether in financial, whether in appearance, whether in children, or any worldly matter, they are inferior to you, then this will guide you to count your blessings. Unlike looking at someone who is superior to you in worldly affairs, then this can cause you to be ungrateful for the favors Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to you. You look at someone who might have $1 million or $1 million real car, and your car might be a small little sedan. But then you should look at the one who has a bicycle in this 45-degree temperature. And the man riding a bicycle, he sees a car pass him by and he becomes frustrated. The guy's driving a nice car, AC blasting. But if he were to look at the man who was waiting at the bus stop while he's riding on the bicycle, he would be grateful. Or even if the man, while waiting on the bus or waiting on the Uber, he sees the guy passing by on a motorcycle or on a bicycle, he becomes frustrated, then that person should look at the man who doesn't have any legs. He's being pushed in a wheelchair. The Muslim has been given an enormous amount of blessings which are completely immeasurable. And if Islam, listen to this, and if Islam was the only blessing that you had, then that alone is one you could never be thankful enough for. My brothers and sisters, this life is short and temporal. And the greatest blessing is to be guided to Islam and to the Sunnah. To be guided to Islam and to be guided to the Sunnah is the greatest blessing. As when we look at a person who might be wealthy, well, most wealthy people, when you look at in the Western societies, are non-Muslim. You have someone like Bill Gates who has an income right now of $160 billion. What's the fa'idah of that when he's going to die on kufr and shirk and bid'ah? How much more of his lifespan? Or Jeff Bezos, who's in 100 billions as well. What's the faida? What's the benefit of that? When they don't know their purpose of creation, which is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. So the greatest blessing that you and I have is to be Muslim. Most of humanity are heedless and forgetful about the blessings they have. So much so, there are those who are tested with poverty or sickness or even another type of calamity. And had they looked at other people around them, then they had realized that there are those who are worse off than they are. So when we say look at poverty, there might be a person, he has only eaten 2 meals a day. Then there's some people who's only eaten 1 meal a day. There's some people who eats maybe once every other day in places like Yemen and other places where there's humanitarian crisis going on. So reflect, my brothers and sisters, and be grateful for what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika aqulu qawli hadha astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalam ala khayri nabiyil mursaleen, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Prophet sallallahu he said, إذا نظر أحدكم إلى من فضل عليه في المال والخلق فلينظر إلى من هو أسفل منه. If any of you were to look at the person who's superior to him in wealth and appearance, then he must look at those who are inferior to him in wealth and in looks. For example, there are those people